same topic that we are studying, and also to write a report or summary of the points. Okay, so we have here Ingrid, Michelle, and Neha. Okay, so Michelle, please. And
Um,
I'm sorry, Neha and Ingrid, of course, you will answer questions after a while.
I think it is important because we understand a little bit more how the culture was seen for like someone else's point of view, and how long, I would say, like how long this problem has been existing for that culture.
Okay, this is a good point. Ingrid, can you add another point? Thank you very much, Michelle. Ingrid, can you add another point, please?
I would just say that that's the foundation of our arguments that you're going to build in your report. So, if you have a strong foundation, if you have a good literature review, of course, your arguments are going to be stronger, and your paper is going to be um, it's going to convince others of your point.
Okay, this is another very good point, Ingrid. Thank you very much. Now, Neha, would you like to add a point about the function of the literature review?
Like we can compare our
And
research.
please, guys, can you stop messaging each other during the class? Okay, please stop. Pay attention to our discussion now. Why we are doing this discussion? Because I want to see this discussion reflected on your paper. So actually now I am helping you to write a better paper. You finish with the proposal. The proposal is only 2 pages, 2 pages, but we have the main paper, which is not less than 5 pages. Okay, and I want you to cover, and I want you to cover those points. Sorry, personal call. Okay, okay, sorry. So it seems that I will not. Okay, I will read the points to you. Let's focus now with the reviewing literature. Okay, reviewing the literature. Now, Michelle and Ingrid gave us very good points. Okay, now Neha. Neha, would you like to add a point, please? I'm sorry, I
Uh,
want you to repeat your point if you already said it.
we can compare our research with the previous research.
Exactly, but actually, let me do a very little correction. I didn't start my own research yet, but what is the function of reading previous researches in order to discover what? I have explained that last class. What do I
Secondary
need to
data.
discover? Excuse me?
Secondary data.
Of course, I can get secondary data from the previous researchers. The member, this is a third very good point, or a fourth very good point.
Yeah.
Okay, but now
Yeah.
I'm talking about Neha's point.
Okay.
Okay, that now those researches, she said compare it with my research. Actually, it is compare it with the research that I'm intending to do in order to not repeat what other people have already done. You get it? So I don't want to repeat what other people have already done. In this way, if I did that, my research will be valueless. Okay, it will. My research will have no value at all, even if it is a very great research. Okay, so Neha, is there any? Let's say that Neha today has invented a car. What is the value of this invention, Neha?
Repeat, please.
If today you have invented a car, just a normal car, you have invented a normal car, what is the value of this invention? Nothing. Zero. Why? Because you have invented something already invented. Okay? So repeating what other people have already discovered, inventing what other people have already invented, okay? That means that actually you have achieved a zero value because you didn't add to the human knowledge anything new. You get it? So this is one of the very main functions of a research, of doing literature review, is to know what other researchers have discovered before you. So you look for the part that they didn't discover. Okay, you look for the part that they didn't discover and you discover it. You look for the information gap and you try to cover it in your own research. Okay, you understand me? You understand, Neha? Neha, can you summarize what I said now?
Yes, Professor.
Yeah, please
Like,
summarize what I said now.
when we do research and when we will check the previous research, at that time we can match the previous one, that we can't follow the same, or we have to invent something new, not the doing the same research that also invented.
Okay, so you can benefit from the previous researches, but you don't repeat the previous researches. And how can you make sure that you will not repeat the previous researches? By reading them, by knowing them, by summarizing them. So you will make sure that you will not repeat the same result again. They will not repeat the same thing, the same research question again. You need to do something new. Okay? You get it? So let's say that Gabriel has done a research about the impact of online education on the educational outcomes in UCW throughout from March 2020 until February 2021. Okay, so this is Gabriel's. I know this, Gabriel. I know that this is not your research question, but I'm just assuming that your research question, that you are studying the impact of online education on the educational outcomes. Okay, in UCW. Okay, from March 2020 until February 2021. Okay, so we can read, and Gabriel has done a fantastic research, and now we are reading this research to benefit from it, but we should not repeat the same research question again. Okay, we should try, we can benefit from it, we can benefit from the general idea, but we need to apply it on something new. You can choose a different university, you can choose a different time period, you can choose a different country, you can, okay, you get my point? Okay, Neha, thank you very much. We will go now to the third point. I want you to write down, so the first 2 points was identifying the problem. The second point was reviewing literature, okay? The third point is setting research questions, objectives, and hypotheses. And I have explained that last class. The research questions, the objectives, and the hypotheses. Okay? Now we'll go to Narinder Pal. Narinder Pal, when we say research questions, of course, we should have a very main research question. And from this research question, we might have branching research questions, sub questions. So we have a main question, and we have sub questions. Okay, what is the most important thing about the research question?
The most important thing about question is like what way we are going to get the data, like quantitative or a qualitative.
Excuse me.
Like it shows like what kind of data that will help us to find the problem that we have to solve by qualitative and the quantitative method researches.
What you are saying, Narinder Pal, is a very good point, but say it in the objectives, not in the research question. I said setting, write this down again. Number 3 is setting research questions, objectives, and hypotheses. So point number 3 is composed of 3 points. So point number 3 alone is composed of 3 points. Okay? Setting research questions. Okay? Objectives and hypotheses. What you are saying now is the objectives. My objective is to choose quantitative data, choose qualitative data. Okay? So this is an objective. But the research question should be what?
The research question should be like what we want to a writer need to state in his research proposal.
Okay, very good. But a very good a very important feature of the research question that it must be what? Precise. What do I mean by the word precise? What is precise?
Clear?
Clear is good, but
It has to
clear
be a
is not the
specific.
exact specific. Thank you very much. It has to be very specific. It has to be not vague. It has to be not general. The research question, it the best research question is the impact of a particular independent variable on a particular dependent variable in a particular society among a particular social group during a particular period. Okay? This is the best research question. Okay? I want Gabriel, please, to remind us of the definitions of independent variable and dependent variable.
Um, Independent variable, I think, is like, I don't know like exactly what it is, but maybe part of maybe a main topic that doesn't depend from anything else. It's just that, and then the dependent variable is an aspect or a subtopic from the topic that depends from the main topic. Like,
Okay, I will give you an example, Gabriel, and you can use this example to explain.
okay.
Okay? Uh, Yesterday, you have done an exam at the very early morning, okay? And at that time, you're sleepy. Usually, you are sleeping at this time at 5 a.m., okay? But you have done the exam at 5 a.m. So when I ask the question, what was the impact of doing the exam at a very early time of the day on your performance in the exam? Okay? On your concentration in the exam. Okay? So where in this question, now I'm asking question, where is the independent variable and where is the dependent variable?
The dependent variable is that I chose to make it early in the morning.
This one is your dependent, not
Uh,
your independent.
yeah,
So
my
no, I'm sorry, doing it in the morning is your independent, not your dependent. The independent is a cause, and the dependent is the impact or the effect or the influence. You get it? So
okay.
what I'm trying to measure here, do you see my example? I'm asking Gabriel about that we have a research question now. Of course, this is only a very simplified research question. The real research questions are not about one person, but the real research questions are about a social group. Okay, so let's say that uh, that the students of the anthropology classes in UCW are doing the exams at a very early time of the day. So what is the impact of this fact that they are doing the exams at a very early time of the day on their performance? Okay, so in this case we have the independent variable which is doing the exams at a very early time of the day. Okay, and the impacts of that, or the performance that was influenced by the independent variable, is called the dependent variable. Okay, like the question that I was giving to you a while ago, the impact of online education on the educational outcomes in UCEW in from 2020 to 2021. Okay, so now Neha, where is the independent variable and where is the dependent variable? Neha.
Sorry, Professor. What you say? Actually, I lose my internet connection. Please repeat it.
Okay, Neha. I'm saying if my research question says what is the impact, or what was the impact of turning to online education in UCW from 2020 until 2021 on the educational outcomes. So I'm studying the impact of turning to online education on the educational outcomes in a particular place which is UCW, among a particular social group which is the students of UCW, during a particular time period from 2020 until 2021. Okay, so where is the independent variable, where is the dependent variable?
So, Professor, dependent variable is that like how students cooperate with you in the online classes.
uh, actually actually, I didn't ask at all about the students' cooperation. I asked about the impact of turning to online education on the educational outcomes. What you are suggesting now, Neha, would be a different research. This is a different research. We can have another research which asks what Neha is saying now, which asks about the impact of turning to online education on the cooperation between students and each other. Okay, so this is a different research. So when I study the impact of online education on educational outcome, this is a research, and studying the impact of online education on the cooperation between students and each other, this is a different research. Although it is about the same independent variable, about the same university, about the same students during the same time periods. But we have changed what we have changed now. We have changed the dependent variable. In the first dependent variable was the educational outcomes. Neha's dependent variable is what? Is the cooperation between students. Okay? You get it?
Yes, Professor.
Maybe Charanjit will say, we want to study the impact of that on a student's mental health. Okay, so that will be a third research about the same university, about the same students, about the same independent variable, but we are studying about a different dependent variable. Okay, so just changing the dependent variable can change the topic, can change the research question. Okay, just changing the independent variable, you have changed the question. Okay, you get it? Joshua, do you have any question about that?
No, Professor.
Okay, Michelle, do you have a question? Your hand was raised up.
Yes. So the independent variable would be the like school, like education.
The independent variable is a factor that is causing a particular impact, that is causing a particular influence, that is causing a particular change.
Okay, so it would be like online learning.
So in this case, in this example, it is the online learning.
Okay.
Okay.
And so the dependent variable is like the people, like that affect.
The dependent variable is whatever kind of influence we are studying. If we are studying the impact of online learning on educational outcomes, so this can be a question by itself. If we are studying the impact of the online learning on the cooperation between students and each other, this is another topic. Okay? If we are studying the impact of online learning on the mental health of students, that is a third topic. If we are studying the impact of online learning on family relationships at the students' families, okay, that is a fourth topic. If we are studying if we are studying the impact of online learning on to which extent students will stay friends with each other if they were friends before, okay, that can be a fifth topic, and all of them about the same independent variable, about the same university, about the same topic during the same time period. But that, what we have changed only the dependent variable.
Yeah. Okay, so it's what is affected by the independent variable, kind of?
Yes, yes. So each dependent variable of those could be impacted, could be influenced by the independent variable.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
Yeah. Yes, thank you.
You get it? Thank you very much. So what is the independent variable? The independent variable is whatever cause, whatever factor that we are studying its impact on something else in a particular society among particular people. Okay? You get it? Okay, I will go back now to the same point number 3 that you wrote it down as I requested, setting research questions. Now we said, how is the best way to set research questions? Okay, choosing a particular independent variable, choosing a particular dependent variable in a particular society, a particular social group, a particular time period. Okay, objectives. Okay, objectives like which kind of data you want to achieve. Do you want to achieve quantitative data or qualitative data or both? Okay, so what is the objective of your research? What you are trying to find? Okay, are you trying to find the statistical numerical data, or you want more detailed data about the interaction between humans and each other. Okay, so this is the second part of point number 3, which is the objectives. The third part of point number 3 is the hypothesis. Last class, we have explained what do we mean by the word hypothesis. Who would like to remind us? Who would like to remind us about the meaning of the word hypothesis?
Are you gonna close it or we
Hi.
talk?
Hi.
Professor?
Yes, now we have Crystal, and we have Farneet, and we have Alexandra. Uh, Crystal, please, what do you mean by the word hypothesis?
So hypothesis, it's a supposition of some things. It's like the question um yeah, the question you propose or for your work. Um
So how the hypothesis
some
is different from the question, Crystal?
sorry?
How the hypothesis is? You said it is a question. Is
It's
it a
just
question or a possible answer of the question?
exactly. It's like a possible answer of the question that it's based on the little research that you have done. So it's gonna be like
Is it
what
based
you
on the
think.
same research or on previous researches?
No, on your same research. This is
No,
like
not based
your
on my same research. It is based on previous information. This previous information may be from previous researches, maybe from experience, maybe from my own
but it's the
logic.
result of research. Yeah, that's right. But it's the result. But it has to do with the result of all the work you've done because the hypothesis is the question you're gonna answer in the end at your conclusion.
Crystal, this is a very important point. The hypothesis, am I deciding the hypothesis before collecting data or after collecting data?
Before collecting data.
Exactly. So as long, just stay patient, please. Sorry. If it is before collecting data, so in this case, I don't know yet any information about my own research. Okay? But I can assume a particular answer of the research question. Okay? And usually this assumption will be based on my own logic. Okay? And this logic, my own logic, might be influenced by previous researches that I did or other people I have done and I read them. Okay? My logic might be influenced by my experiences in life. Okay? So it is just an assumption, but I don't yet know whether this assumption is right or wrong. I don't yet know whether this assumption is correct or incorrect. I'm just assuming. I'm just guessing. But it is not an ignorant guess. It is an educated guess. Because I'm a researcher and I am a social scientist and I have experiences, and it will be based on this logic. So it will be a logical, educated guess. But it doesn't have to be true. It doesn't have to be correct. Okay? What will prove whether the hypothesis is correct or incorrect? The data that I will collect. Okay? Keep it in mind. What is going to prove whether the hypothesis is correct or incorrect? The data that I will collect. Okay, so this data that I will collect, I will analyze it, and I will discover at the end whether my initial hypothesis, whether my initial assumption was correct or incorrect.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So can you explain everything again, please, Crystal?
Yes. Well, the hypothesis, it's a an assumption of what we're gonna work, of all the variables we're gonna see. It doesn't have to be correct or incorrect. It's just an assumption of what we think it is, to test if it is true.
Okay, very good. So I will assess this assumption after data collection.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much, Crystal. That is great. Anybody has any question about the hypothesis before we go to the next point?
I do have a question, Professor.
Yes, please ask.
Uh, so based on what you just said, if the hypothesis is kind of the answer to the specific questions of the research, so the hypothesis then will be leading our research. Um, Said in other words, is like, because the hypothesis is an answer that we assume that is the answer to the research question. So that answer will then lead us to find articles, to find data to prove our own hypothesis, right?
I'm not trying to prove my hypothesis, but I'm trying to know whether to which extent my hypothesis is correct or incorrect.
Exactly. Yes, I totally
and we have
understand
to
that.
take care here very much, because in some dishonest researches, instead of trying to know to which extent the hypothesis is correct or incorrect, the dishonest researchers are trying to only collect the data that will prove the accuracy of their hypothesis, and they ignore the data which disagree with their hypothesis. Okay, and in
Yeah,
this case, that will be a fabricated research or a fake research.
yeah, that was my point.
Okay, thank you very much, Adrian.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you. Any other question about the hypothesis? Any other question about the hypothesis? Okay, let me go now to point number 4. I hope that you wrote those points down. Point number 4, choosing the study design. The study design. What is the design of your house? What is the design of your room? What is the design of your office? Okay, so what is located where and how it looks like, and what is the structure, and what comes first and what comes next, right? So what is the design of your study? What is the design of your study? Okay, so the design of your study means which research questions that you are going to ask, and what tool you are using, are you going to use in order to ask those research questions? Are you going to use secondary data, secondary sources only? Are you going to use primary sources? If you are going to use primary sources, which primary sources? Are you going to use questionnaires? Why you are going to use questionnaires? Are you going to use, for example, questionnaires because you have a very large number of people that you can't reach them all except through a questionnaire? Okay, and the questionnaires are easy to send by email to many people and to receive the answers electronically. Okay, so if you are not going and are you going to use the questionnaires because you want quantitative data, and in the questionnaires you can use closed-ended questions? I want you to pay attention with every word I use and to ask me about every word that you don't know its meaning. Okay, so are you going to use the questionnaire because the questionnaire can help you getting quantitative data, numerical data through closed-ended questions, and the closed-ended questions look like the multiple choice questions, so you can count at the end what is the percentage of people who chose answer number A in question number 2, and how many persons chose answer number C in question number 5. Okay, and that will bring to you quantitative data that you can put in a table, or you can put in a pie chart, on a pie chart, on a bar chart. Okay, numbers, statistics. So statistics could be easily achieved, or could be easily gathered through closed-ended questions in questionnaires. Okay, so, or you are going to use interviews, so you will have face to face interaction with the interviewees. Okay, and if you are going to use interviews, what are the other reasons for choosing interviews? You should write your reasons. Okay, why, and which kind of interaction you will have with the interviewees. Are you going to read particular questions from a paper? So question number 1, you say the question orally, and then the interviewee will answer the question, or you will make it like a conversation. The first type of interviews that has a question, pre-designed questions and answers, are called structured interviews. And the one that looks like a conversation is called unstructured interviews. And the ones which have questions and answers with conversation between each question and the next is called semi-structured interviews. Okay, so am I going to use structured interviews, or semi-structured interviews, or unstructured interviews, or I'm not going to use interviews at all? And in each case, the most important question is why. Why I'm choosing interviews, why I'm going to use a particular type of interviews, or why I'm not going to use interviews at all. Always in each step, ask yourself why, and answer this question before being asked about it. Okay, you get it. Now, Alejandra, you have a question. I didn't finish this point yet, but I will listen to Alejandra's question, then I will go back to the design.
Yeah, sorry. My question is, what type of primary resource can we use if we aren't actually like going to the places?
Okay, that's what I'm explaining now, Alejandra. I'm saying that there are several kinds of primary sources. Some primary sources you don't have to go anywhere, but you can, if, for example, if you are sending a questionnaire to the respondents, to the field of the study, and you are receiving the answers from them directly, this is called the primary source, even if you don't go and meet them personally. Okay, so this is a primary source. So any information withdrawn directly from them is called primary source. So the questionnaires are one kind of primary sources. Interviews, I talked about interviews, or I'm going to use the most preferred anthropological. It is the most preferred, but the most difficult, of course, and the most time consuming, and the most inappropriate in your case if you are just a student doing an introductory course. Okay, so yes, they are the best, but they are not suitable for you. It's fine. Okay, what is this method? Observation. Observation means that you will go to the field of the study and you will watch and you will record with your own eyes the behavior of the people who are interacting with each other, and you will stay with them for a long time. In some cases, the anthropologists stay with them for years. Okay, in some cases for weeks, in some cases for months, in some cases for years, and they observe them. And the most preferred anthropological observational method is what? Is the participant observation. So participant observation means that you are not only watching. Okay, let's say that David is want to study the behavior of the soccer players with each other in the play field during the game itself, to which extent they are cooperating with each other and to which extent they are selfish and they don't want to help each other. Okay, if David goes and just watches them, that is non-participant observation. But if David cooperated, if David became part of the team, okay, he will get more involved in those detailed relationships and he will understand more. And so this is participant observation. And of course he will not understand fully those deep relationships in one day, but the longer he will spend with them, the deeper he will understand, right? Okay, so questionnaires, with a different kind of questionnaires. In questionnaires we might have closed-ended questions or open-ended questions, and each of them has different functions. Okay, or interviews, the structured interviews or the unstructured interviews or the semi-structured interviews, and again each of them has a different function. Or observation, participant observation or non-participant observation, and again each one of them has a function, and we always should say why. Are those the only anthropological primary sources? No, we might have many others, but those are the most used ones. Those are the most usual ones. Okay, sometimes they do experiments, like we have watched an experiment together before. Do you remember the experiment in the clinic of that was called "Most People Are Sheep," and they were studied? That was an experiment. Okay, so sometimes they do experiments. We might have several other, as long as we are receiving the information directly from the people. So this is what, this is a primary source. But in some cases, I will say I don't have enough time, and I don't have enough knowledge to use primary sources at all. So I will only do what we call desk research. Desk research means that I will only depend on secondary data. That's it. Of course, this is not the ideal research to do, but it is acceptable as well. It is scientifically acceptable. But why it is not the ideal? Because you don't know to which extent the secondary sources are accurate. Okay, but however, if this is what you are able to do it. The secondary, it is called secondary sources. A research that depends on secondary sources is called desk research. Desk research. Why it is called desk research? Because you are sitting on your desk. You are. It is a bit similar to what do you remember in chapter 2 when they are talking about the anthropologists of the 19th century, and they called that armchair research? It is a bit similar to the armchair research, but it is a little bit more precise and a little bit more accurate and a little bit more scientific. Okay, so you are using your own computer, you are using your own library, you are using the mass media in order to find information about the topic that you are studying and in order to answer the questions that you are trying to ask. Okay, but you are not going to get any direct information from the field of study at all. Okay, you get it. Okay, so this is the research design. It's using the research design, is it choosing the tools that you are going to use in order to gather, in order to collect the data. This is the most important part of the research. Okay, then point number 5. Point number 5, please write these points down. Take notes, please. Point number 5, deciding on the sample design, sampling process. Point number 5 is called the sampling process. The sampling process. What do we always need a sample? No, not always we need a sample. First of all, what is a sample? A sample means that, for example, if I'm studying 10,000 persons, is it possible for you to gather information from 10,000 persons? Can you do it? Garlin, can you gather information from 10,000 persons?
No,
If
Professor.
your research population is 10,000 persons, okay, you can do it. Okay, and you still wanted to use primary sources, and but you know your limitations, you can't get information from 10,000 persons. So what do you do in this case? What do you do in this case? You pick a sample from the 10,000 persons. For example, you will pick 500 from the 10,000. Okay, and you will consider those 500 to be your representative sample. Pay attention to the word representative. Representative of whom? Representative of the research population. For example, if we have 10,000 students in UCW, and I'm doing my research to study the impact of online learning on the academic performance of the students of UCW, but we have 10,000 students, and I can't study the whole 10,000 students, so I will pick a sample from the 10,000 students. I will pick 500 from the 10,000. So in this case, the 500 should be representing the 10,000. So Harsimran, if I choose in the sample only the A star students, is it a representative sample? Harsimran. Okay, Parneet. Parneet, if I'm only choosing the A star students in the sample, okay, is it a representative sample?
How many students, Professor?
We have 10,000 students, and I will choose 500, and those 500 will be from the top grades students.
Yes,
Is it a representative sample?
representative samples are representing the others.
Yes. Is it a representative sample?
They are top graders. I'm confused, Professor.
If you have 10,000 students,
Yeah.
and you choose the 500 who got the top grades in
Yes.
previous exams. Is it a representative sample?
Maybe no.
No.
Yeah.
Why? Because it doesn't represent all types of students.
Yeah.
Okay? So whatever information I will get from them, it doesn't represent everybody else. If I only choose the female students, is it a representative sample? Joshua, if I only choose female students, is it a representative sample?
No, sir.
No,
Mm.
right?
Yeah, because
If I
there could be
only
males or
choose,
females.
if I only choose the students who live in Vancouver, is it a representative sample?
No.
No. If I only choose the students who are between 19 and 25, is it a representative sample? No.
No.
Okay? So a representative sample should be like a small picture of the population, but in proportions, with the same groups, with the same division, with the same specifications. Okay, like for example, if I draw now, if I draw now in a cartoon, do you hear me or not?
Here, Professor, but your
Hello, do
network
you
is
hear me?
bad.
Oh, okay. You hear me now, right? If I do like a cartoon picture of myself, okay, but with a but with a very big nose and a very small head, does it represent? Can I use it as a passport photo?
No, they
Why?
won't allow
No.
you.
Because it doesn't represent the reality. Okay, but the representative sample is like a small photo of the reality with the same proportions. Okay, like for example, if in the reality we have 50% males and 50% females, so the representative sample should be similar to that or close to that. If in the reality we have 70% of the students from a particular cultural background, so in the sample it should be close to that. Okay, you get it? So when I'm using a sample, I'm using a sample. If I'm if I want to get if I want to do a research that depends on primary sources only? No. And if the research population is much larger, then I can study them all. Okay? So I don't always use a sample. Let's say, for example, that you are going to do a desk research that depends only on secondary sources and no usage of primary sources at all. Do you need a sample? Logically, do you need a sample? Ingrid, do you need a sample? I will repeat the question. I will repeat the question. If you are doing a desk research that is only using secondary sources and not using primary sources at all, do I need any sample here?
No,
Very good. Why?
because you don't have to randomly select people, right? Because you are only doing the research on data that already exists.
Okay, exactly, because there will be no interaction between me and the research population at all.
Exactly.
I will not interact with the field of study. I will not get any direct information from the field of study. So whether the field of study is 1,000 or 100,000 or 100 million, okay, I'm not getting the information directly from them. I'm getting the information from the secondary sources, which are already collected by somebody else. So I don't need a sample if I'm doing a desk research that entirely depends on secondary sources. Okay, if Hossein Preet is doing a research on a class of 30 students, and she is using primary sources, and she will get the information directly from them. Will Hossein Preet need a sample? Who would like to answer this question? If Hossein Preet will do a research about a class of 30 students only, okay, and the research depends on primary sources, because she will get the information from them either through a questionnaire or interviews or observation or whatever. Will Hossein Preet need a sample? Yes or no? And
No,
why? Who
I
would like to
think
answer? Who is answering now?
Rapneet, Professor Rapneet.
Okay, Rapneet. Why no?
I think no, because it's depend upon each and every person that how they thought about anything. Like it's
Okay.
not depend because we don't have same thinking. Every person is different.
Rapneet. Your answer at the beginning is good. Yes, no. But this is not the reason why no. Think about the think about the population size of the research now. The research population is how many persons?
Only 30.
Only 30. Can you study the whole 30?
Yes, we can.
Yes. So you
Yes.
don't need a sample.
Yes.
If the
Okay.
population size is 3,000, maybe you need a sample. But if the population size is 30, you can just study them all. You
Yeah.
can just get information from them all. You can give all of them a questionnaire. You can even interview all of them. Okay? And in some cases, you might even observe all of them if they are in the same place. Okay?
Yes, Professor.
So in this case, what? In this case, you might not need any sample at all, because the research population is small enough to be studied all. Okay?
Yeah. Yes, Professor.
So we have two cases in which we don't need any sample. The first case, if I'm only doing a research, a desk research that entirely depends on what? That entirely depends on secondary sources. Okay? And the second case, if I'm doing a research that depends on primary sources, but the research population is so small and I can study them all and I don't need to choose part of them. Okay? So in
Okay.
those two cases, I will not need a sample. Okay? But in
Yes.
the case of a research that depends on primary sources and the population size is big, okay, and I can't study them all, here I must use a sample. Okay, but I have to make sure that the sample must be a representative sample. Okay,
Okay.
who can explain to us, who can define to us what is a representative sample? What do we mean by a representative sample? Who can define to who can explain to us what do we mean by a representative sample? Here I want definition of the word representative. What is representative? Yes, I'm waiting for the hands. Okay, Michelle. Yes.
What I understand of representative, it's like small group of people that represent the majority of a community or a region.
Okay, very, very good. How it will represent them?
How they would represent them?
Yes.
By sharing their same like culture, traditions, and religion.
And the proportions.
Oh, and like in the
And
proportion.
the proportions, like the percentage of the proportion of males and females should be almost the same.
Oh, okay.
The proportions of different age groups should be almost the same. The proportion of what category should be almost the same. So if we are talking about the students, the proportion of year one or year two or year three be almost the same. Okay. The representative sample should have the same portions research in order for it to be representative. Okay. You understand me? Please, 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 please. I'm begging you, okay? If you don't understand, keep on asking until you understand. It is your right and you have to use it. Okay? The next point. So now we understand the sampling design, right? What is the easiest way to pick a sample from the research population? The easiest way. There are many ways. There are many sampling tools. Okay? There are many types of sampling, but I will only tell you about two. The easiest one and the most accurate one. Okay? The easiest one and the most accurate one. The easiest sampling process will look like a lottery. Of course, all of you know what is a lottery, right? Will look like, for example, let's say that I have 1,000 names. Okay, I will put all of them in envelopes, and I will randomly choose. I will choose 10 envelopes. Okay, so in this case, before the choice, before picking up the 10 envelopes, each one of the population had the same probability, had the same chance of being chosen. Right? Right? So nowadays, are we going to do that manually? No. There are computer programs which are doing this kind of sampling. What is the name of this? It is called simple random sample. Simple. Why it is called simple? Because it is the easiest. I have 1,000 names, and I will randomly choose 50 out of the 1,000, 10 out of the 1,000, 100 out of the 1,000. Okay, so this is called simple random sample. You get it? Okay, so this is the easiest one, simple random sample. The most accurate one. Okay, why do we not, why sometimes we need the most accurate and it might not be enough to just to do the easy one? Why? Because there is a possibility that maybe just by mere chance, the 50 that I will choose, I will find that 40 out of the 50 are females. But in the research population, we have 50% males and 50% females. So in some cases, the simple random sample might lead to a sample that is either underrepresenting or overrepresenting a particular group. Okay? In some cases. So if I'm just doing a simple quick research like the student researches, it is fine to use the simple random sample. Okay? But if I am doing a very strategic research for the government, and the government will take very important decisions based on this research, the sample should be super representative. The sample should be very representative. Okay? Okay? And what is the name of this super representative sample? It is called stratified random sample. I know the spelling of the word stratified might be difficult for some people. So you write strata. Strata means a group of people. Okay? Strata. S-T-R. Strata. S-T-R-A-T-A. This is called strata. Okay? Then you will remove the A at the end and you will put I-F-I-E-D. So stratified random sample. How do we do this stratified random sample? Is it easy? Not very easy, actually. Okay? But sometimes is very important. Sometimes it is very important. If I'm doing a very important research and there are very important decisions that will be based on the results of this research. Okay? So stratified random sample. Let's say that I have now, I want the university, the top management in the university will take very important decision based on this research. Okay? So it is not enough to take a simple random sample from the students. So I will do stratified random sample. What is the stratified random sample? It is a sample that so accurately represents each group in the research population. Okay? So for example, if I have 4 age groups, okay? So I will divide the research population into 4 age groups. I will divide those groups into males and females. Okay? Then I will divide each group of those into different ethnic groups. Then I will divide each of those groups into different geographical areas. Okay? So at the end, I will have like maybe 20, 30 divisions. Okay? And I will go to each division. I will go to each division of those, to each subgroup of those, and I will choose from them a sample, let's say 5%. Okay, so I will get 5% from group number 1, 5% from group number 2, 5% from group number 5, 5% from group number 17, and then the ones whom I have chosen, I will put them together, and this will be my super representative random sample. Why it is super representative? Because I'm sure 100% now that the students that I have chosen are representing all of the significant groups. Okay? I represent now, I have the males and females are very accurately represented. I have the students from different geographical locations or different residential areas are very accurately represented. The students from different cultural backgrounds are very accurately represented. The students who belong to different grade categories are very accurately represented. So based on that, and then I can go to this representative sample and give them the questionnaire that I like, or do the interview or whatever, and the results at the end will be very representative results that I can use in generalization and I can give to the management in order to take decisions. Okay, you got it. Okay, any question? We'll go to the next point. So the first 4 points that we finished: identifying the problem, reviewing the literature, setting research questions, objectives, and hypotheses. Number 4, choosing the study design. Number 5, deciding the sample design. Okay? What is left? Collecting the data. Now I have the sample. I have the people whom I'm going to get from them the information. So let's go ahead and collect the data. I give them a questionnaire, I observe them, I interview them, I do whatever way of data collection, whatever tool of data collection. Now I have the data. What I am going to do with the data? Processing the data, analyzing the data, thinking about the data, and making a conclusion. And the last point, writing this conclusion in a report. Okay? And this report will include some paragraphs about the qualitative data, and it can include some tables or graphs about the quantitative data, and that's it. Now I have finished the research. Okay, now I have finished the research. How many steps we talked about? We talked about 8 steps, but take care that some of those steps, they contain inside them multi-steps. Like point number 3 was composed of 3 points. It was setting research questions, objectives, and hypotheses. Okay, so in some cases when you do a research about the steps, you will find instead of 8 steps you will find 11 steps or 10 steps. Why? Because they have broken number 3 into several steps rather than one step. Okay, you got it. I will send you a photo of those steps to your WhatsApp group, so you will revise them, and you have to be able to talk about each one of them as I talk today. Okay, fine. And it is very important to always answer the question why. Why I'm using a sample or not? Why I'm using a simple random sample, why I'm using a stratified random sample, why I'm using interviews, why I'm using questionnaires. In the questionnaires, why I'm using closed-ended questions. Always answer the question why. Every point you write, you have to answer why. Okay, and this why should be realistic, should be related to the topic that you are studying. Okay, you get it? So why Crystal will choose a particular method is different from why Anshal will use another method. Okay, and that's why I always insist that you use your own words and you don't copy anything from anywhere whatsoever. Everything should be out of your own logic, because you are the one who will answer why. And after finishing your research, okay, the most important stage of your research is the presentation that you will do at the last week, and you will explain your own research, you will explain your own methods, and I will keep on asking you why you chose this, why you chose that, why you chose this kind of questions, why you did this, right? And the you should be prepared to answer all of those why questions. Okay? You get it? Now, I hope that this class was very useful to you. I hope that if you have questions, please ask me, and I'm ready to answer you until I get the names for the attendance.